Welcome back to Marathon Phoenix Commentary. My name is Ryoko TK, and we are going to be watching episode 17 here, which is about the level Exercise in Excess. An all-around more visually interesting level than this last one here. Much like Escape 2000, this level was made after the advent of Wayland, the mapping program. And this is the first map that I made with that program, the first single-player map anyway. So far as I know, it is the only it was the first single-player map made with Wayland, period. The pool of mappers for single-player maps is extremely small in this community. So that's not really surprising. As such, I was really sort of happy to be unbound by a lot of the restrictions that were continuously tying me down while mapping in Forge. Most notably being the size and complexity of the maps, because there is a limit to how many polygons can be in a map in Forge. And that limit is 1,024 polygons. I think this map is about 1,600. So, that's substantially larger. But more relevant to Phoenix is also how many objects can be on a map. That limit is 384 objects in Forge, and the limit is removed in Wayland. Objects include ammo pickups, sound effects, and enemies. And since Phoenix is a very action-oriented scenario, of course, being unbound by monster count is extremely useful. The object count limit is why the ammo respawns on the level Neo New Mordor, because that level was made in Forge. And having the respawning ammo only counts one time for the object count. So it just freed up more slots for enemies. But not the case for this level. This level I just kind of used as a playground to see just how big and bad of a level I could make without the limits that were holding me back. Hence the name, Exercise in Excess. Objective-wise, this is the third level in the chapter, Chapter 4, of course. And the goal of this level, we are working our way through the wrecked ship now, trying to find the housing chamber for the AI Phoenix. And unlike the previous level, which was all about platforming sections and difficult sniper set pieces and that kind of thing, this level is all about the action set pieces. Big battles, big three-way battles between all of the NPC factions in this game, the humans, the Four, and the renegades. And you will see all three agents fighting each other at times. This level was just a lot of fun to make. It's one of my favorites to play. One of my favorites visually. Possibly my number one favorite visually. No, I think my favorite visually is probably Something Wicked, but this one's very, very close. I really like how the multiple texture sets work together in this level. Much like a few other levels that I really like. This one I think I just tied together different sets very well, and in a way that seems natural. Because this level is so set-piece driven, I'm really reliant on using enemy triggers a lot and multiple times in one area. So you saw it a couple times in the previous room, that sort of courtyard. There's one trigger when you first enter the area, and then there's another trigger as you climb up the steps to get to the ledge that we're on now. So you kind of fight enemies from both sides, or both viewpoints of that set piece. Once here on this sheltered ledge, and then once from down below, where you can kind of retreat back to the recharger if you need to. And that's kind of how I like to use set pieces. I like to engage the player multiple times in one set piece to try and maximize the maximize the mileage that you get out of a single area. Mostly just to make the levels seem bigger, since, as I said in the previous episode, marathon levels are not that big. And so you really have to kind of optimize your usage of space, your usage of polygons and objects and stuff like that. This level is a pretty linear level. It's kind of looped around in a circle around this central structure that we're sort of looking at here. And so the first, probably 2/3 of this level kind of go around the perimeter of the map, and then eventually you kind of open up the central structure and you can proceed through it to the ending part of the level. So it's a lot of long views again, kind of like this one, and I just kind of like how it ties together. And I kind of like the use of water in this level. Much like my use of rocks in sort of quote-unquote natural environments, one thing that I'm very reliant on stylistically is use of liquids. Mostly because I think it makes an environment seem a little more dynamic because you have moving stuff. You know, liquid flows. And the water has like a tide and stuff like that. And so it gives a little bit of color and a little bit of motion to what can otherwise be a very flat set piece. And I like to do that as opposed to, say, using flickering lights or something like that. Just because I generally find flashing lights to be really irritating. So what we're looking at here is another use of sort of the multi-stage set piece here. This set piece has 3 stages in total. The first one, of course, is when you approach it. And I kind of cleaned it out with that with the crossbow bit. And then you kind of come around back here, and then you got to clean out the backside of the area. And these humans just get melted in this game. It's just not even fair. This game does not emphasize... Well, I guess it sort of does. It doesn't really emphasize saving the humans in the gameplay at all. And I just don't care. They exist to die, so far as I'm concerned. And then, anyway, the third and final stage of the set piece is coming back around this way and fighting off the Juggernaut. As far as all the Juggernaut fights go in this game, I like the Juggernaut. I like the Renegade Juggernaut. I actually like Juggernauts in general. I think they're pretty threatening enemies. They're pretty fun. But you have to kind of design the fight in an interesting way. Otherwise, and hopefully in a way that makes it go relatively quickly. And that was one that I like, just because, you know, you have to dance through the rocks and stuff to try not to get blasted by the machine guns. So as you can see, this map is really just a bunch of set pieces back to back with pretty much no downtime, so it really lives up to that name. And that was really the reason for this map's existence, was just to be sort of an out of control bloodbath. Early on in Phoenix's conception, or sort of the storyboarding, I guess, for lack of a better term, it didn't have a lot of these sort of multifaceted battles. It only had a couple, so you know, this level would all be Renegades, the next level would all be Renegades, the next one would all be Renegades, and this one will be all four, you know, whatever. And then there would be, there was like 1 or 2 levels where there would be the multiple factions fighting each other. That was true in this scenario's predecessor, the Gray Incident, as well. Very limited number of those sort of battle maps, and they weren't really designed that well to really emphasize that aspect. And they're just something that I really like. I don't know, I find something kind of exciting about watching the NPCs fight each other, and doing it in a way that sort of blends the player into the action. So, as I was designing Phoenix, I tried to come up with more and more excuses to have these battle maps. So that's why this level exists. That's why the level, the Count of Tuscany exists, and there's a couple other maps that are like that too. But this one and the Count of Tuscany were the big ones that mostly exist just to have NPCs fight each other. And this, I mean, this one kind of looks like a war zone, and that was sort of the intention. Um, once again, I'm using the low wall trick, where if you have a wall like the one I'm walking on now that doesn't extend from floor to ceiling, enemies will try to shoot you through it. And that it kind of puts you in a situation where you're constantly under fire in sort of like a suppression tactic. And it just adds to the threat a little bit. A consequence of that is that they also won't really try to pursue you as much, just because they're constantly stopping to attack. So they'll walk a few steps and then they'll shoot, and they'll walk a few steps and they'll shoot. Whereas if it were just a straight up wall, like a whole wall from floor to ceiling, then they would just pursue you around the corner. So it is sort of an anti-cheese tactic as well. And you can kind of see in this map, I sort of did it the wrong way. I think I sort of conceived this map in a backwards manner. As I've stated a few times, that my big strategy for making a lot of levels is to have like the center set piece that you keep kind of passing around from different angles, and then eventually have the player pass through it. And this building now that we're looking at here, this is sort of that set piece. Like I said earlier, most of the level kind of revolves around you getting into this building. And I kind of did it wrong. The objective isn't in the building. It's past the building. You just go through it. You're only in the building for a few seconds. If I were smarter, I probably would have made the map in a different way, such that the actual objective was in the center of the map. The AI housing room was in the center of the map, because that's what actually matters. But it made more sense this way. As I was drawing the map, it made more sense to make it this way. And sometimes that's what you have to do. Because like I said earlier, I think I said this, I don't plan my maps out really at all. And sometimes you kind of pen yourself into a corner doing it that way, and you just have to make a sacrifice. It's like, well, I'm just going to put the objective in the corner and have something else be in the middle, because that's what works best for what I've done. I think it's fine. Having sort of a boss fight of sorts in the center of the map instead worked out just as well. That fight with the Mother of All Hunters and Mother of All Cyborgs is actually kind of tough, because they have high ground on you. And there's just a lot of crap coming your way at once. Anyway, here we are coming up on the end of the level here. I'm just gonna fight one boss fight, and then it's moving on. You'll notice that I'm back to the beginning of the level, and just like in the previous map, Escape 2000, the end of the level is right by the beginning of the level, and you have to kind of do this world tour just to kind of end where you began. And I don't know why I like that trope so much, but I kind of do. I just think it almost literally ties the level together. I didn't mean to have both of these levels right next to each other, or maybe I did. But at least in this level, it's justified in the terminal as you were placed geographically close to your goal, but your commanding officer didn't know where all the doors, or all the locked doors, were gonna be. This boss fight is sort of stupid. It's against an invisible Mother of All Hunters in a dark room, and about 1,000 other enemies. Now that you have the fusion mortar, I can really get away with throwing these huge crowds of enemies at you, because you can just dump all kinds of death on them. This is actually a really nasty fight, because you kind of start it penned into the corner of a room. One thing that I'm not very strong at is making spaces that kind of look like what they're supposed to. I don't think it's really clear that this room is supposed to be like the housing chamber to an AI unit. If you think back to the Marathon Affinity level, Strange Aeons, or I guess there's a Marathon 2 level that has like the Durandal or the Thoth AI things. Imagine those in here. And I don't think they're not here though. And that's kind of the point of the level. And I don't think that's really explained that well. Anyway, that's the end. Next level is Tantive 4. Thanks for watching.